Hey watercolor artists, it is a beautiful day to paint and a beautiful day to drink ube lattes and paint them. I got inspired in Chicago on a trip and the 4-story Starbucks roastery. So if you haven't seen the short, I sat down and had a most delicious pistachio croissant and ube iced latte. So you saw the traceable. I've drawn it out. It is a fairly simple shape. We've got an oval, lines down for the cup. It's a glass cup. And a little bit of a bottom for the glass. And this is the spot for the ube cold foam. And then crescent shape with lines that go this direction and then this direction. Sort of like if we're just creating a little bit of volume there and form. And then this is the pistachio cream. Oh my gosh, I gained at least 10 pounds on this trip. Okay, I want you guys to trace if you haven't traced it, or draw if you haven't drawn it, and we're going to erase the lines as best we can. These are the coconut flakes. I'm trying to make them look like they are kind of curved up there, so we'll give them a little form too. And then there's ube powder. Ube is purple yams, I want to say, so it has kind of a nutty flavor, which was amazing with the coconut. They actually, not just at the Reserve, they make these at regular Starbucks as well. So if you have the time and the extra spare cash, go get yourself one. Perfect to be drinking while we paint. Okay, I'm erasing as much as I can. Guys, the colors today I have are a variety of my browns. I have burnt sienna and raw umber. I also have yellow ochre. And I have a lemon yellow that we're gonna use for the first wash. And then I mixed a little bit of green. I used a sap green with a little yellow to get this pistachio kind of cream color. And guys, for the coffee, I wanted it to look a little milky. So I put buff titanium, kind of opaque, and mixed it in with raw umber and burnt sienna to get that. And for the amazing cold foam, I have purple with quin rose, like a purpley rose, and that's that. You guys can do this with lots of different colors. I think I made a prototype, and I think I'm gonna do a background wash while we let some of it dry, of a yellowy, like a warm yellow. So that might be a yellow ochre, or it might be a Naples yellow. Okay guys, and we'll do a little shadow too. I forgot to put it over here, but we'll have a little bit of blue, maybe purple to match with that, but I think blue for a little tiny shadow at the bottom. All right, let's get into it, guys. Let's make some mojo. So you have your water jar. I have 140-pound cold press paper. This is Bauhong. This is Arches. Sorry, I'm using Arches for this one, and I'm using it on, there's two sides to Arches paper. Well, this one's messed up, but it's textured and it's more flat. So I have the flat side for this one. I didn't want quite as much texture. We're gonna be doing a couple of techniques today, a little bit of wet on wet and a little bit of dry brushing, which is using your brush on the side and dragging some of that color up and just creating really cool ridges and textures. The flaky croissant, oh my gosh, you guys. And so to do that, we need to make sure it dries in between, but we have lots of things to jump around to, so we'll be able to let areas dry while we work on others. Okay, I'm gonna use an 8. I have a 5x7, and I'm gonna be using an 8 for most of it. And I'll switch to a 6 and 4. Do I have a 4? Yeah, for the smallest bits like the coconut. Okay guys, let's also have a paper towel nearby, and I'm gonna tell you, kind of give you some instructions about when to knock some water off your brush and stuff like that. So the water control and what water to use is one of the most elusive mysteries of watercolor, and I'm pretty confidently figuring it out so I can share it with you guys. Okay, first I have wet my brush. It is medium wet, and I'm gonna pick up yellow, but so light, so I'm gonna dip it back in my water. And then this is gonna be the first wash over just real simple light. This is like gonna be our lightest little bit of the pastry showing through. So I really don't want it super yellowy, so I'm using water to water it down and make it really light. And I need a little bit more water and pigment because you hear me scratching it around. We don't really want to do that. So this is a little bit better. It's flowing for me a little bit more. I drew this one a little bit more like in a triangle towards that direction because that last little bit that kind of wraps. This is a crescent croissant. Seriously, guys, I think we need to have another tutorial about making pistachios. Croissant baking, I don't think is for me. We've got a lot of layers. You have to laminate the dough, layers of butter. There is an amazing croissant restaurant in bakery in San Francisco, and they're going to be opening one, I think, in Austin too. Okay, we're letting that. What we're going to do a tiny bit while that's still wet is I'm taking a little yellow ochre and a little bit of burnt sienna, and I'm just going to get a little into the bottom, just a little. I'm just dragging up. This is not the dry brush. I'm just putting a little value down here as it dries, just a little bit. And then I'm going to make the ends have a little bit more. And then I'm going to put a little bit down from the top as well, but a little bit less. We're going to make a little shadow under the pistachio as well. So this is literally, and I'll put some for the lines. This is just to start to darken it a little. We're going to go back in maybe 2 or 3 different times to make it look more realistic. Okay, next, let's do the coffee. Okay, so for that, I want to do this wet on wet. And what I want to do too, guys, is I'm going to draw it in really lightly. I want to leave, I was using my glass as a model. So I'm going to leave kind of down here and over here just with white. Just kind of the milk was mixing it. So you see what I'm saying down here and up here? Just leave it kind of really light. I'm going to go into my milky coffee color. This is like a tan brown. I'm putting it in. I'm not doing wet on wet. I'm doing wet on dry, but I'm using a lot of water. So I didn't wet the paper first, but I am still using a lot of water. See? And I'm going to do the whole glass inside here. Don't do this bottom part because we're saving that for actual glass. And I'm going to go around this area. I'm going to do that even lighter, and I'm going to save this area also for some of the whitest. And then we'll just do that color all the way around. And it's pretty wet, remember, we just put so much water onto the brush as we're doing this. So there's a lot of water here for us to move around with. All of this, leave all of this because it's going to be that ube cold foam. Okay, so we have some areas that are cool. Cool by cool, I mean awesome, not cool temperature, because this is warm. Okay, I'm putting a little bit what was left on my brush into this whiter area here. This is going to be like the milk. Okay, while that's wet, guys, let's take a little bit of burnt sienna and let's just drop it in sort of like a little lightning bolt of color coming in this way. And maybe going down here. And that's going to blend in for us since it's all wet. And then let's take a darker, your darkest, your raw umber, whatever's your darkest. And I'm not making this super wet. I'm drying my brush. See what I've got going over here? I'm drying my brush after I picked it up just because I want this to go into here but not super blend everywhere. We're doing the corners now, just the corners of the coffee cup here. And I don't want to like blending all around. So I wanted this to stay put a little bit more. So I used a little less water for that one. Okay, we're gonna do that same thing down here in the corner with whatever's left on your brush. I'm gonna drag that a little bit this way. We're gonna go back, don't you worry, and add some more as we go. This is just our first wash. Let me put a little what's on my brush right here. Is that little darker that I had? I might just go here. And all of this is gonna dry, and I'm blending this out. All of this is going to dry lighter. Okay, what shall we do next? Should we do the ube foam? I think so. So I want you to get your pinkish purple and do it super light, and I'm doing wet on dry. And this is kind of, you got to have a little brush control here because I always say we're not coloring in the lines. This is loose. We are coloring in the lines right now. And I want to leave a little line here so we can do the glass. So let's leave like right here at the top, a little bit of a line. Okay, pull that across. And we're going to do right in there. And I think what I'm gonna do to show a little bit of a tiny bit of a highlight is the same thing where I did here. And just take my brush and dab it right here and just pull a little bit of that off. And it might look like a shadow for the glass. Now let's get this is even a little bit more dicey up here because we have to avoid the coconut. I didn't mask it off. You could use masking fluid, but I'm sometimes too impatient for that. So I'm dabbing my brush in water and just spreading this around, but I am avoiding these coconut flakes. They were coconut shavings, huge chunks. I had so much fun with this place. Okay, look, we're leaving this little area here. And look what I did, I painted right there. So I'm gonna I need that to be white. It's okay. I'm gonna pull it off a little bit here. There we go. Okay, then go in here. Don't forget, look what I'm doing. I'm leaving a little white here so that we can do the rim of the glass. And then we're going over here. Let's avoid the coconut. It might need a little more color. We're gonna add the powder. They also use the ube powder. It's amazing, kind of shaken on. And that is gonna go on as well and look really cool. This one I curved up, so I'm gonna go around that one. We really want to get it everywhere, but the coconut is not. I might even put a little paint marker up there. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna go back here a little, just to make sure we can see that that's coconut. Okay, let's go back to the croissant. Get all of that purple off of the brush. And let's get your next color. So for me, that was yellow ochre. And I'm gonna get this medium wet. Like not super thick, but not super thin either. And I'm going to go in and we're gonna kind of drag that up a little bit in some places. See how we're doing that? We're gonna leave our highlight kind of in the center. So we're going to be leaving this part in the center of our croissant the lightest. So we're going around that part and I'm dragging up and I'm making sure to leave the center here in the areas the lightest. And we're gonna keep going through some of this. And while we're doing this dry brush, we're gonna go ahead and get our burnt sienna. And for this one, guys, I want it to be almost, I put it in the water and then I dried it off with my fingers pretty well. And then I'm grabbing some of this. So this is really, let me see if I have a scrap paper I can show you. So see this? This is really kind of dry. See that? Look at that. Do you see that? Let's make sure it's on camera. Yeah, there. See that? Like that's really gonna make a cool texture for us. So we want to do that too. I'm gonna make sure, yeah, it's dry enough. So get your thing, almost your brush, almost dry. Put it in here without much water, and then we're gonna drag it sideways, like sort of for this one, we're rubbing it a little bit. And that's a great way to get texture on the paper because it's bumpy and it's sort of catching in the bumps. So let's do that in a couple places. See that, guys? See how it just kind of caught and made a little texture for us? See right there? So just scratch it across in a couple of places, but don't forget to leave the highlight in the middle. That's the thing. See how we're just scratching it in? I love that. I love the dry brush for a lot of things. Doesn't it look like it's kind of coming to life? Okay, we're gonna leave that for now. We're gonna do some darker in there. Actually, sorry, we're not gonna leave that right now. We're gonna go back and get a little brown of your darkest and a little more of this burnt sienna. And we're gonna outline our lines. So for that one, I have here. I have it here. We're just going in the corners. I have it here, and this is our start of that. And I have one here. Okay, just leave that for now. Leave that in there. I'm doing a little blending just to get it down to the bottom. And now I'm gonna leave it. Okay, let's go back up to the coffee. Let's get our coffee color, our nice tan creamy coffee color latte, and let's build some of the color in there. So I'm using a medium wet. I have water in here, it's moving. And I'm not gonna go everywhere. I wanna kind of skip some places. I'm not coloring it straight in like coloring book style right here. I'm kind of dragging it all around in different spots. I'm leaving these lighter right here and right here where we said we had the white. And then I'm gonna get my darker, which was raw umber, and go back in a couple of these spots here and up in the corners where we had that. There we go. Okay. And down here and over here. Super fun. Now let's get the burnt sienna back. I lost some of it, and go back into here, into this area, and make sure we've got a little of that inside here, because this is giving it like a new little color. I might dab some of that up there. And I really like these lines up here, how they came out. It's all gonna blend together when it's done and look amazing. I'm getting that burnt sienna, and I'm mixing some with raw umber. So that's a little darker version of the burnt sienna. And then I'm gonna drop that in a couple of places. I'm gonna do that a little bit under here. And kind of mix that around. And I'm gonna do some of that over here. Some of that over this side. And a little bit over here. There we go. Okay, then let's go back to, I think it's time for us to put the pistachio cream in. What do you guys think? I'm all for that. Delish. Okay, let's do that. Get your brush completely clean from that brown. Okay guys, for this one, the cream of the pistachio, get it kind of light for our first pass. And just avoid the, let's just swoop it on there, and we're gonna avoid the thing, oh, the croissant, although mine is kind of dry, so it's fine. And this is just a light first pass. We're gonna keep it kind of light. And we'll just do a little bit of shadowing at the bottom. There we go. You might want a couple places where it's lighter, like there, just to show that it has some form at the end. There we go. We'll do another pass on that in a second. Okay, the other really fun thing I wanted to do while we're zooming in is to do this yam powder at the top. So I'm taking a brush that's super dry, and I have a 4. And what I'm gonna do, let me show you on this. I'm gonna just dab it like this and kind of create some texture there by going, just dabbing it there, just dabbing on there, but having the individual dots kind of show. So let's do that. And then what we want to do is completely avoid, see, we can see sort of like the individual dots still. We want to completely avoid our coconut. Okay, get that around there. You might need to grab some more paint. And then we're gonna have a couple over here, but mostly concentrated in the center and around the coconut. Down there, I'm using a number 4, and I got some more. And I am going to get right in there. I gotta get my old eyes right in there so I can get some. And you really do want this to be kind of dry, but I'm getting a little wet there, so I'm gonna just dab it the best I can around in here. See, just make it look like powder and get it in between the coconut. And it's sort of negative painting, So it is negative painting. So we're doing this and it's outlining our coconut shavings. Perfect. Okay, maybe a couple dabs over here just to show some powder over there, a couple over here. But mostly, we'll come back one more time for this, but mostly it's gonna be dark right in the center. Like right where they're just between them. See? And then maybe a couple dabs over here, just so you see some got loose over there. It was, I told you, it was really good, like a nutty, kind of a little bit earthy. If you haven't tried it, flavor that went really well with the coconut. Delish. Highly recommend. Okay, let's go and create some shadows and the edge of our glass. So since we have this one, I'm going to use a Payne's Gray, but you guys can do even a blue. Payne's Gray is like sort of leaning cooler blue, and I love it. And I'm making this pretty dry. I don't want it spreading all over, and I'm just gonna go on the edge a little bit here and a little here. I'm gonna edge the whole glass and then come down to the bottom and edge the bottom, and then the same going on up. And then down here, I'm gonna get a little more and do at the bottom. So this is like where the little glass reserve is down there. And we're gonna put a little in the corners, right here, lightly. And then right here. Just dab some of that. And then don't forget, this is what we're gonna do now up here. Don't forget to come around. And I'm gonna leave some of it white and use some of that. I need a little more Payne's Gray. I'm gonna leave some of that to do like sort of little glass highlights are showing. We'll do that at the end with a paint marker if you have it. Or you can leave it white right now. So I'm going here kind of lightly and I'm leaving some of the areas white. I might go on the inside of some of them, go up here, the top, and then a little over here, kind of reflecting. And then don't forget, I forgot down here. Okay, we're good. Now let's do a shadow. So I love blue for shadows. I really like French ultramarine or ultramarine blue for shadows. And we're gonna do kind of a gradient where it's darker closest to the bottom and it's gonna kind of feather out. So get a little mix, pretty watery, of French ultramarine or whatever. I said that. It could be any blue that you have. You can even mix in some of your purple to tie in some of the purple from the top. How fun would that be? Okay, then I'm gonna use my 8 again. I'm gonna get this and we're gonna put the darkest here. I need a little more. We're gonna put the darkest closest to the bottom and then we're gonna spread it out. Okay, ready? We're just putting a little here, right at the edge. We can put some over here. And I'm literally outlining the croissant here. And I'm gonna just get a little more so it will spread for us. And then I'm wetting my brush once, dabbing it on the paper towel and then dragging it across so that this will spread out a little bit for us. We're kind of creating a little gradient here. And then that's gonna come this way and it's gonna be a little bit natural of a shadow, which is nice. And then we're gonna put some of that here to drag. And then we'll just drag it this way. Same thing with the glass. Let's do under here. I'm kind of envisioning the light coming this way, but really, in my picture, it was mostly at the top. Okay, easy. Concentrate the blue here and then spread a little to the sides. Use some water to make that spread. I'm gonna put a little more blue right in here because I lost some. And then that's gonna spread a little out this way with the water that we have. Really, really simple way to do shadows. I'm gonna drop a little blue here just to strengthen the medium. And a little bit right here. See? Simple but effective. Okay,
Should we go back to the pistachio? And then we'll add some kind of dots to that because there are crushed up pistachios in this one. Okay, I'm going back. I'm gonna mix up a little more because mine dried over here. That was, I had an undersea green. You can use any green, a sap green. I had a little yellow. And I'm gonna add a little bit of buff titanium to all of that to make it a little lighter. So let's just put some of the cream in at the bottom of it to make it a little bit more shadowed there. Okay, drying my brush, I'm dabbing it in water, drying it, and then I'm gonna brush this across, sort of towards the bottom. And then maybe where there's a little kind of, it was like kind of bumpy that they made it, you know, kind of spread across like pastry. Frosting. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll leave this part just a little, maybe a little darker there, tiny, but not too much. We're having some highlights still up there. Okay. What now? You guys tell me. What now? What now? A little more coffee. A little more. No, let's do, yeah, coffee and the Croissant darkening while we have the brush. Okay, let's go in, dip our brush a little bit, go into the sienna and the umber. I have raw umber and sienna right now, and we're gonna make some of our darkest areas, and that's gonna be here where it curves, here where it curves, and the bottom. We need to add some at the bottom, and we'll do that here. We really need to get a little bit more form with this. This is our third pass. You guys are really hanging in. And we're gonna put some here and the ends here. See? And really want to concentrate on getting this one darker, this part, the ones that come down, like where it's kind of out of the oven, got a little darker, toasted. Okay, so that, what we're also gonna do is add a little bit of shadow under the pistachio cream because we need it. So for that, I'll use burnt sienna and raw umber just like I was. And I don't need a ton, but we do just need a little under there. I'm gonna wet my brush a little. I don't want it to go into the green, guys, so keep under it. Just a little bit. Don't make sure your brush isn't so wet that it's dripping it into the green. But a little bit's not a bad thing. I'm just kind of dabbing that under for a shadow. That's all we need. It's really simple, that one, just simple. Okay, while I have that color on my brush, it also goes with the coffee. So let's dry brush a little bit of that into some areas of our coffee just to deepen it. I'm gonna do that over here. And we're leaving some of this lighter because it's looking like the milk is kind of mixing around in there. So I'm kind of happy with the coffee already. We don't really need too much more. We could put a little to this burnt sienna if we want to get that reddish tint that was in mine. Because I think some of the ube foam had gone in a little already. Maybe just make a little red spot here, reddish. Maybe down here. Okay, guys, we are almost done. It's looking awesome. I hope you guys love it. I'm gonna do a washing over the entire background just with a warm wash. And I think so for fun, I'm gonna get yellow, a little yellow on this part of the pistachio and just put, because it's like a yellowy green. So I'm gonna put yellow with a little bit of green. And that's like, they were crushed pistachios and I want it to be kind of exaggerated. So I'm gonna dot that in a couple places, see? Simple, and it's gonna blend into some of that. It's fine. And then I'll add some brown and we'll dot in some white too, just for fun. Okay, so let's get a little bit of brown. Like I'm gonna get a little light brown and put that in some places like some of the shell, or like was showing a little. Super fun. And then we'll put some white there too. If you guys want, let's go and strengthen this up here. In some of those places if you want. That's like this. I think this is the last thing we're gonna do, y'all. You did awesome. I hope you're really proud of this one. It's so fun to do food. You know, there's an entire career of food illustration. Get around this one. Get in between these. These really are showing our different little coconut areas, so you want to get it in there. And the most concentrated right in the middle there. All right. Y'all, it's looking awesome. Shall we do the wash in the background? Sure, we should. Are you guys ready to run out and get a cold foam latte? Because I am. Okay, this is Naples yellow. And I'm gonna make it really wet. I don't want a lot. I just wanted to warm up the background a little bit. See guys, I'm really using a lot of water and I'm just bringing it across, and I'm really gonna avoid my designs in there. So y'all can do this, have so much fun, go around. I may concentrate some color. You can do any color, guys, any color you want. You can make this a blue background. I did this just to warm it up a little bit and just give it a little more of kind of the sunshiny day feeling, but you can definitely do a blue or something else. I didn't want it to look sky-ish, but you definitely can choose different colors. I have one more thing for us to do. We're gonna do one more on the croissant while it's drying. I lied, we're not totally done, but we're almost done. It's gonna be awesome. We do need one more layer there though, guys. So I'm putting in, and I like how this looks with like little textured. I'm literally putting in a pretty wet layer of this Naples yellow. Whatever yellow you have, whatever color you're using, just drop it in pretty wet. And then I'm gonna brush a little bit over my shadow, carefully. This is called glazing. I didn't really let the background dry enough to make it safe to glaze over it, so I'm just doing it really carefully. See, okay, that's good to go. Okay, last one, guys, I promise. Let's get a mix of your burnt sienna and raw umber, our darkest again for the croissant. I'm actually going to concentrate more with the burnt sienna, and I want to go back here. See guys, look what a difference that made with one more layer. We really needed it. And then I'm gonna pull some down here. And then, oh, I lied again. I lied to y'all. I lied. We're doing one more. Just easy little thing at the end. I want you guys to be happy with it. You could quit right now and it would be awesome. So you guys decide. It's totally up to you. But I have one more thing that I'd like to show you. That is to get a really skinny brush. I have a 2, and I'm gonna get a couple of lines. I'm gonna get my purple off of this brush because that would not be good. Okay, then I'm gonna get some lines, really. The orange I'm mixing in, the burnt sienna with a little bit of the raw umber, and I'm making it pretty dry, like super dry. And then I'm gonna just paint a couple of really skinny lines in there. See, I'm whispering because that's the level of these lines. They're skinny, and I want you guys to do them real skinny. So you can drag some that go up. So it's just kind of creating the flaky, a little bit more of the flakiness. See? Super fun. I'm gonna go down here. You can dab a couple of these if you want. Put some dots in there. And I want one more pass with a reddish only. This is like my burnt sienna only. And I'm gonna put that here, here and a couple of places over here. Okay guys, last but not least, take a white paint marker if you have it, or some white acrylic, and I'm gonna dot just a tiny bit in there for some interest. If you want, if you lost a little of the white in there, I'm gonna add some white to my coconut. And then here's what I was talking about before. Let's kind of make it look like glass reflecting. So I might go a little inside some of those, might do a little up here. You can do some inside of glass here if you like. Maybe especially here where we had some of the highlights going. Maybe a little along the inside edge. And then if you like, you can give a couple of strong highlights over here to the croissant. Don't have to because it looks good already. And then I think I'm gonna dot a couple of just little like powder, like almost like it's powdered sugar up here. And then we'll maybe understand that these are little flakes of something. And y'all, we are done with ube iced latte and a croissant. I hope you found it delicious and fun. Go hang it up, go give it to a friend, go to your local Starbucks or local coffee shop and give it away. So fun, guys. I will see you next time. In the meantime, keep your mojo flowing.